Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and we got a couple fun stories today. One is for Nintendo because right now, one of the biggest issues that fans have with the Switch 2 is just Nintendo's greed. You know, that really has plagued the Switch 2 and just how they're pricing every little thing. But it does seem like they're walking back on at least one stance, and we're going to get into all of that today. Now, also, it does seem like Xbox has a few surprises in store, both for the short term and also for the long term as well. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with Amazon Games. They were hit by mass layoffs earlier in the week, and as we talked about in a previous video, they are pulling back on their big AAA MMO games. Well, apparently that also includes the Lord of the Rings MMO. This comes from an engineer that was working on the game, and on LinkedIn she said, "This morning I was a part of the layoffs at Amazon Games alongside my incredibly talented peers on New World and our fledgling Lord of the Rings game. Y'all would have loved it." So, I mean, there was already speculation that this was the case, but, I mean, this is more or less a confirmation, and that really is too bad. However, I will point out that Amazon hasn't exactly inspired a lot of confidence from Lord of the Ring fans. You know, the billion-dollar budgeted show was poorly received, and I mean, maybe they would have done better with a game instead, but how much confidence did gamers actually have for this game? I'm not exactly too sure. It's just one of those things where because it's such a massive IP that, you know, there's always at least some hope, but sadly, the Lord of the Rings franchise hasn't exactly produced a lot of stellar content in quite some time. However, there is one franchise that just seems to print money, and that's none other than Pokemon. It doesn't really seem to matter what they make, it's just going to fly off shelves, and that includes Pokemon TCG Pocket. Now, I actually do really enjoy this game. I play it every day, in fact, and I'm enjoying the megas right now. If you're a fan of this game, let me know in the comments below. Go Absol, by the way. But the thing is that new information came out that revealed it produced more money in its first year than the phenomenon that was Pokemon Go. I mean, if you remember, people were going crazy over Pokemon Go when it first launched. But here we are, and TCG Pocket has actually made $1.3 billion for its first year, which is just absolutely crazy. Now, admittedly, you do have to consider inflation, but all in all, they have another huge hit on their hands, and as long as they can keep players invested, I mean, this is a game that could live on for decades to come and live alongside the regular Pokemon TCG, which is still as active as ever. All right, now on to some Xbox news, though, because we have a couple things to talk about today, one of which piggybacks off of the recent Halo campaign Evolved announcement. According to a new rumor by Halo Leaks, who has gotten some things correct in the past, posted this over on Twitter. Halo 2 and Halo 3 are being remade. Yes, they will have sprint, no multiplayer, only campaign, full remakes. Multiplayer is going to be Halo 7. So, I mean, I think this actually makes some sense for the future of the Halo franchise, and that's for multiple different reasons. But I also feel like it probably depends on how much success the first remake actually has. I mean, if it comes out and it has a lot of success, especially over on PlayStation, where a lot of gamers probably have never played these games before, then sure, Halo 2 and Halo 3 remakes would be the next best steps for them to take. Introduce the entire original trilogy to PlayStation gamers and really give them that taste for why the Halo franchise is so beloved. I mean, I am assuming Halo 7 is also going to be multi-platform when it eventually releases, but, you know, these remakes could act as an introduction for a lot of people on PlayStation. Plus, remakes in general have been a big boon for the game industry this generation, and if they can remake the entire original trilogy, some of the greatest games of all time, some of the most beloved games of all time, all while working on Halo 7, then, I mean, really, this is a no-brain move for them to make. Now, I'm not going to say that it's easy to do remakes, but I am going to say that it's probably a little bit easier than coming up with, fresh takes for a brand new game. You can maybe have a side team work on these remakes, all while you still work on brand new installments as well. So, I mean, we'll see what happens here. Do take this rumor with a grain of salt for the time being, but I do think that it makes some sense for Halo Studios to have this within their plans. Now, the other big surprise, though, from Xbox could actually happen here sometime in the near future. Yeah, one of last year's best games recently got an ESRB rating for the Xbox Series, being none other than Silent Hill 2. Now, as we've seen time and time again, these rating boards are just some of the funniest leakers that the industry has, because they let news like this slip all the time. I mean, we can still take it with a grain of salt, and that's probably the best way to do this. But more often than not, these type of ratings do end up becoming true. More often than not, it's really just a matter of when rather than if. And in the case of Silent Hill 2, it's fairly well known that PlayStation paid to keep it off of other platforms for at least 1 year. So in other words, by contract, it is a 1-year PlayStation timed exclusive, which means their contract ended back on October 8th. So, I mean, we could potentially get an announcement really at any moment. It could happen today while I'm recording as a part of a Halloween celebration. It could happen next month, or who knows, maybe at the Game Awards in December. But no matter when it happens, all signs do point at an eventual Xbox launch. Again, I think it's more of a when rather than an if by this point, and I'm going to tell you this right now. If you have not played this game already, I think it's an absolutely amazing game. I know there was a little bit of controversy around some character changes, but I just think as a whole, Silent Hill 2 Remake lived up to the expectations. It is one of the best horror games of all time, and it really is just so cool that this franchise has made a return in such a big way this past year. Not only with Silent Hill 2 Remake, but also with Silent Hill F, which was also very well received. In fact, we also got an update for the entire series today, as it has now surpassed 13 million copies sold. Now, just to put that into perspective, that means that the series has sold an additional 1.5 million units since June, and that's actually pretty good for the Silent Hill franchise. The Silent Hill games have never exactly been as big as something like, let's say, Resident Evil, but 13 million still makes it one of the most successful horror game franchises of all time. So yeah, just a lot of good news for Silent Hill fans today, and I mean, you all deserve it because you all have had to wait for a very, very long time. All right, now let's just go and talk about Nintendo, because they dropped a big surprise themselves, and it's not just the game announcement that's so interesting in this case, but also what this could potentially indicate as well. Now, first, let's go and talk about the actual game, and that's for Animal Crossing New Horizon Switch 2 Edition. Yeah, quite the mouthful, but this is a big upgrade for legitimately one of their most successful Switch 1 games. I mean, you have to remember that this game sold nearly 50 million copies, which is just beyond crazy. I honestly did not expect that at the time, but here we are, and it's receiving a major upgrade. So just with how beloved it was last generation, I think a lot of people are going to be thrilled about this, because this upgrade comes with a lot of new content. Not only is it going to receive a boost to its resolution, its visuals, and its frame rate, but they are adding a lot of new stuff as well. That includes higher player capacity in multiplayer. It is going up to 12 players now. There will be new mouse controls to pair with the Joy-Con 2s. There's new game chat and camera support, as well as things like new items to collect and more. I mean, if you like Animal Crossing, basically it's gonna be prettier with more content, and that's really fantastic for fans, because this is one of those games that people plays for years and years. It's timeless, and it's going to launch on January 15th. Now, admittedly, I don't really care for the Animal Crossing franchise. Farm sim type of games just don't do much for me, but what really caught my attention in this case was the price. That's been a big talking point pretty much since the Switch 2 was first announced. And if you look at other Switch 2 upgrades, pretty much across the board, Nintendo has been charging $70 if you want to buy it new, or a $10 upgrade if you already own said game. However, that's not what they're doing for Animal Crossing, which is really interesting because, again, this is their second most popular game on the Switch 1. The only game that sold more was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I say that because they could have easily took that information and used it to price gouge fans, similar to how they handled the launch of Mario Kart World. Its popularity and brand power basically gave them an excuse to price it at $80 because they knew fans were going to buy it anyways. But they're not doing that here with Animal Crossing. Instead, it's going to be priced at $65 or a simple $5 upgrade. I mean, if I'm being honest, I would have preferred free, but you know, $5 isn't that bad. And it does kind of tell me that Nintendo is walking back a bit on their stance. I don't know, maybe those $70 to $80 Switch 2 editions aren't exactly living up to their expectations, so here they are, and they're decreasing their price upgrades going forward. Now, okay, to be fair here, to confirm that, we still need to see how they price future Switch 2 edition games, but here's to hoping they continue with this trend. I mean, we'll see, but again, Animal Crossing Horizon Switch 2 edition will launch on January 15th. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.